Hi, I'm Marlon May from MMHealthandFitness.com, and today I'd like to talk about a very common posture, and that is excessive upper back rounding. Now, if we take a look at the chart with the skeleton here, we can see the spine has several curves to it. We have a curve at the level of the neck going one way, and then a curve at the level of the upper back going in the opposite direction, and then by the time we get to the lower back, that curves the same way as the neck. Now, we can measure these curves using a tool known as an inclinometer. And I can tell you that after years of taking measurements of the spine, an excessive upper back rounding is very, very common, even amongst people that think their posture is not too bad. Now, at the level of the upper back, the curve is meant to measure in at about 35 degrees. And this is also the same for the lower back. That too should come in at around about 35 degrees. Now, the most extreme case of an upper back curve that I've measured has come in at 76 degrees. But I've heard of cases of spines being measured in the upper back at 87 degrees as well. Now, this is a problem because when we have optimal posture, what it does is it reduces the wear and tear on joints of the shoulder, of the spine. Now, when we have this excessive upper back curve, if we're participating in demanding sports or high energy fitness classes, we can get a lot of wear and tear on the shoulder. Why is this? Because when we flex the shoulder, the last few degrees of shoulder flexion are dependent upon your ability to extend the spine. And this should be of concern for anyone that participates in any activities where they are required to move their arms overhead. So if you're doing an overhead press in the gym or in a fitness class, if you're serving in tennis, in sport, even if you're swimming in performing a front crawl where you're horizontal but you still require full range of shoulder flexion, all of this can be quite destructive on the shoulder joint if you have this excessive upper back rounding. And it starts off with shoulder niggles, but then can lead ultimately to the destruction of the shoulder joint. So what we want to do to avoid this wear and tear on the posture, on the joints of the spine, is make sure we optimize posture. Now, how do we optimize posture? There are two components to correcting posture. What we want to do first of all is mobilize the spine and the joints so that you're able to move into the correct position. Then after that, once you're in the correct position, you want to be able to strengthen the muscles that hold you in the correct position. Today, what we'll do is we'll go through the mobility techniques, just a couple of simple mobility techniques. Now, what I'll also say is that when it comes to the spine, we have a ligament that runs along the front of the spine that can adaptively shorten if you're in a poor postural position. And let's face it, most of us are being sat down for extended periods, whether we're driving, in the office, on a computer, or on a laptop. So we want to try and influence this ligament that that runs along the front of the spine by stretching it out. And one tool that we can use for this is the foam roller. So I'll show you how we do it. So we have the foam roller in a longitudinal position here, and I'll sit down on one end and then just lie myself down over it, head down at the other end. Now, in this longitudinal position, I just drape my arms out to the side, and being propped up on the foam roller is enough to now start to stretch this ligament that runs along the front of the spine. But time is of the essence. If we want to influence this ligament, we need to be here for about a 3 to 5 minute period. But it's a real easy position. Okay? So I'd also recommend performing this movement as often as daily, or at least as often as you can. So that's the first mobilization technique, nice and easy. There is another one that we can do as well. Now, that involves switching the foam roller to a horizontal position so that what we can now switch to is a segmental mobilization technique. Now, what do I mean by that? So the spine is broken down into lots of small bones known as vertebrae, each which have small ligaments attaching. Now, if we're stiff in any particular region of the spine, we could benefit by picking out those areas and segmentally mobilizing the spine. So what we do is we can start, the upper back is classified from anywhere from, say, the level of the 12th rib right up to the base of the neck. So anywhere in between that section, we have the potential to have some stiff vertebrae in need of mobilization. So, as a rough guideline, we can start just below the level of the armpit. What I do is I just support the weight of my head like so, and I'm going to use breathing to relax into the mobilization. I'm going to inhale and go down. Once I'm down here, I want to hold the mobilization for about 3 seconds, and then I exhale just enough to give me some relief from the mobilization stretching technique, and then I'll repeat at that level of the vertebrae, and I'll inhale again. And the objective here is not to get your head to touch right down, okay? Keep your chin kind of tucked in and try and drop from that level, that segment of the spine, and stretch that area, okay? Now, once we've done that 3 times, you can then move up to the next segment of vertebrae and see if that area is stiff too. Inhale, hold for 3 seconds, exhale, come out. And just repeat that process throughout all the different segments of the spine. That mobilization technique is a little bit more aggressive, but can be quite effective. So, for more details of these mobilization exercises, please feel free to check out my posture page on my website, MMHealthandFitness.com, where you can also pick up a foam roller there. I'm Marlon May, and I'll catch you soon for the strength component of correcting posture. See you later.